the contractions were more intense and they were pretty close together, and that I probably should be going to the hospital.
This is happening. I'm about to meet my son. But as it progressed, we realized she was losing a lot of blood.
I just went through all of this, and now I'm gonna die.
God is actually good, and even if she does die, he has a better plan. Hey guys, if you're new here, we are Ian and Heather Austin. We're a Christian folk duo living in the Appalachian Mountains, and we're going to tell you our birth story. Before we do, though, we want to set up the situation and tell you where we were at going into the birth.
Yeah, so we went to my 36-week appointment for our regular check-in and found out that I was actually already 3 centimeters dilated and 60% effaced, which we were all shocked about, because before they even checked me, they were like, don't be disappointed if you haven't progressed any. You're a first-time mom. It's not very common for first-time moms to progress that much, especially this early. You're not even full term. Full term isn't considered until 37 weeks. So I was shocked.
You were so excited. You were calling your mom.
Yeah.
You were like, I can't believe this is happening. It was almost like you're going to go into labor that day. That's what you felt like.
Yeah, but that's because they said it could have happened.
They said it could happen at any moment.
Yeah. And then it was after that point that I started feeling a lot more pressure in my pelvis, and everything became more difficult and things like that. So it was starting to feel a lot more real than it had been prior.
So, from 36 weeks on, we were really antsy and thinking this could happen today. And then the next day it'd be like, no, it's happening today. And then every day it was just super, super imminent.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the day it actually happened and what was our mindset then. Because you were starting to get discouraged. You're saying, I'm starting to think it's never going to happen. And I'm thinking, it's got to happen.
I know, it was a little silly, but I had more contractions leading up to the day I gave birth, but I would have contractions for a little bit and then they would go away, and then they'd come back for a little bit and then they'd go away. And so it seemed like, oh, something could be happening, and then realizing it doesn't actually form into a consistent pattern.
And this is us researching everything with ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And ChatGPT would say, this is really good news, and it could happen today, or it could happen in 4 weeks, or something like. And so that really, we started to, I guess, be more guarded about progressions in you, because we didn't want to get our hopes up, because we've been getting our hopes up for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it started as a normal day.
Right. Yeah.
I had a call with my friends. We have this business call, and then when I came in and talked to you, you're saying, what did you tell me? So this was early in the morning, and you're saying, oh, I think I'm having contractions, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, okay, well, I've been hearing that for 2 weeks, so whatever. But then they started to become kind of consistent. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had planned on recording one of Heather's songs that day, but you were tracking them consistently, and you're texting your mom every 10 minutes that there was a contraction. But you were still, for some reason, you're saying, no, we're going to record this song.
I know. I was like, even if I am in labor, which I don't, at that point, I was like, I'm still not even sure if I am. I'm in early labor if I am, so it's fine. We can record.
But once I heard them being consistent, I was like, the baby's probably coming today. I was thinking, we're not recording this song. But you were committed.
Yeah. And I was still in a denial, for sure, that I was in true labor. But then once the contractions really started picking up, they were getting more intense. I was having to focus a little bit more through them, breathe through them a little bit more. And they were getting closer together. They went from being about 10 minutes apart to about 4 to 5 minutes apart really quickly. Not much time had lapsed.
No, it jumped from 8 or 9 to 10 minutes to 5 minutes.
Within like 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
at that point, you were texting your mom, and she was pretty much saying, no, you need to go right now,
You need to go to the hospital.
which we were still kind of hesitant of,
Yeah.
like, I don't know if we were still wondering if they were contractions, but just being like, yeah, I don't know. I've been through this before. We've already been through it of, do we need to go to the hospital? And it's like, it didn't happen. So
Yeah.
still being somewhat guarded there.
Right. So I was like, well, if I am in labor, I want to take a shower and be fresh before I go to the hospital, because I knew it was going to be a long time before I was able, going to be able to take another shower. So I took a shower, and then as I was starting to do my makeup and stuff, I started noticing that the contractions were more intense and they were pretty close together, and that I probably should be going to the hospital.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to fix my hair or finish my makeup, which is fine. We ended up getting to the hospital around 3:30, and my mom met us there. And I walk in because I'm still able to walk and talk through everything. And my mom tells the front desk, my daughter's in labor. And I don't know if they really believed that I was. We sat there and waited for a little bit before someone even came and was like, okay, you can just walk up to labor and delivery. And we were like, okay.
So chill.
Yeah. So we walked up there, and they got us in a room. And then the lady, the nurse, said, so you think you're having contractions?
It's funny she said, you think you're having contractions. Like, she's not even acknowledging that you are. She's saying, oh, honey, you might be.
Yeah. And at that point, I still wasn't even fully convinced. And I was like, yeah, I think so.
And your mom was like, she's having contractions.
She's definitely having contractions. Yeah. And then she asked me what my pain level was on a scale of 1 to 10. I didn't know how to rate it. I knew that the pain was pretty intense when I was having contractions, but I didn't know what to compare it to. Yeah. So I said maybe an 8, and she was like, an 8? That's high. And I was like, okay, 7. And she said, that's still high. I was like, okay, so maybe a 6. And she was like, 6 sounds better. Let's do that.
Like, she knows the actual pain.
Right.
Because she was saying, well, we'll check in, we'll see if we need to send you home. And they send you home if you're not actually really in enough labor yet. So she's thinking, we're gonna send this girl home, and this is a false alarm.
Yeah, and they actually told us that they thought they were going to have to send me home because they didn't think I was actually in labor, or at least not progressed enough. But then when they checked me, they realized that I was 7 centimeters dilated, and we were all shocked. And so, yeah, obviously I stayed at the hospital. They got me all hooked up to monitor the contractions, the baby, all the things. And then I started progressing by a centimeter every hour after getting to the hospital. So by 4:30, I was 8 centimeters. And then by 5:30, I was 9 centimeters dilated. And the contractions were definitely growing more and more intense, where I had to do a lot of breathing through them.
Which you did really good with breathing. She did in through a nose, out through a mouth, and you were like a pro. Sometimes I take a cold shower and I try to breathe slowly, and it's so hard. I'm like, and you did really good. It's hard to breathe smoothly when you're under pain or pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely something I had to focus on it. Like, when I was having contractions, I didn't want anyone talking. I wanted silence so that I could just focus on my breathing. But my water had yet to still break at this point, and the contractions were extremely intense, but they were still manageable. I was still coping pretty well.
The nurses were saying, they're like, man, wow, you're at an 8 or a 7 and you're handling it this well. One of them was like, man, if I was at a 4, I'd be asking for the epidural. You were sitting at a 4 for probably a week. I don't know. You're sitting at a 3 for 2 weeks. And
but not having active contractions. But yeah, I was at a 9 for 2 hours and nothing had progressed. And I was still doing okay. I was getting a little tired, but because the pain was still pretty manageable, like the breathing was significantly helping. I was on a birth ball. I was leaning over him at the time, and yeah, it was manageable, but I wasn't progressing at all. And so they started to talk through the options, and they said that they could break my water because they could tell that it was bulging. Sorry guys, it's a lot of information. But it had yet to break, and that was probably what was preventing me from progressing further. And they said that they were pretty confident that once my water was broken, that we would have the baby. Like, I would be pushing within 30 minutes of the water being broken. And so I didn't take it immediately. I wanted to labor a little bit longer and think about it.
And I asked you, I said, so do you not want your water broken because you feel like it wouldn't be all natural if you had your water broken? And you said no, you were just worried about the pain.
Yeah.
Because the pain gets way worse.
Right, because the water acts as a cushion when you're having contractions, and once the water is broken, there's no cushion there anymore. And I knew it was going to get a lot more intense.
And you wanted to do all natural, no epidural, no Pitocin, no anything.
Right.
And that's why breaking the water is so scary. It's because there's nothing to save you from the pain.
Yeah. So
they got this thing out, crochet hook thing.
Yeah.
Finally decided to do it, and they popped it.
Yeah, after like another hour or so, I think, of laboring is when I decided to get my water broken, when I realized I still hadn't progressed. Yeah, and then once the water broke, things got real it got real intense. And I was struggling. I was really struggling at that point.
Yeah. You still did pretty good with your breathing.
I really tried, yeah.
I'd have to remind you more, I feel like, because sometimes you'd be like... But I don't blame you. That's super hard.
So hard.
Yeah, and you were also, before, during the contractions, they weren't so bad to where you couldn't laugh, because sometimes you would laugh because I would make fun of you because you sounded like an airplane. She'd be like...
I was doing what I had to do.
Because I guess humming helps.
Yeah.
But I was making jokes about that, and you were laughing. But once the water is broken, there's no way you're going to be laughing about anything.
I can't even describe the amount of pain or like what it felt like, except for it felt like I was being ripped in half. And I started to dread each contraction as I anticipated them coming. And I was definitely starting to panic a little bit more in between each contraction because I knew, like, about 30 minutes into laboring after the water was broken, I had asked what my pain management options were because it was so intense. And of course it was too late for the epidural. And the other pain medication that they could have given me was a little risky because they said that if I give birth within an hour of taking this medicine, or before an hour before it like fully took effect, it could have adverse effects on Judah when he came out. And so that immediately like was written off in my mind as not an option because I didn't want anything to affect him.
Right. So you had the hope of doing all natural, but you gave yourself the option if it's super horrible.
Yeah, I wanted to leave the option open to get the epidural. I wasn't closing myself off to it. But because I was laboring so well for so long, through 9 centimeters, I was like, no, like, I can do this. I don't need the epidural. But then once my water broke and stuff, it was too late.
Yeah. So you were locked in.
Yeah. Yes.
Unfortunately, because she started saying, they were like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, I'm just regretting my life decisions." And you were saying stuff like, "I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do this, Mama. I don't know if I can do it."
Yeah, I was definitely panicking a little bit.
And what was going on in your head regarding the pain?
Yeah, well, I was thinking I would rather just die right now instead of facing the next contraction because it was so intense. And thinking like it was hard to know that the only way through it was through it. Like the only way to the end was I have to keep going. but nothing in me wanted to keep going. And I was so tired at that point. Like, having those intensive contractions, I was having them for like 2 hours. It like drained everything in me.
Was it partly because you didn't know how long that would last?
Yes.
So it was the extended time, but it was also the pain.
Yes.
Okay.
Not knowing how much longer I was going to have to do it. Like, not even, like, not being able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Because they had said 30 minutes and I had done it for 2 hours.
So were you sad about the thought of you'd rather die?
No.
You were just so overwhelmed by the pain, nothing else matters.
Yes. Yeah, I wasn't.
That's intense.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I was definitely not thinking about anything else except, like, I don't know if I can do this and I would rather not do this. Nothing else was in my mind. But I was also saying in between contractions, Jesus help me, Jesus help me. Because I knew, like, in and of myself, I did not have the strength, to continue.
It was hard to sit there and watch. It was hard to wait that long. It was definitely hard to just see, like, I can't do anything, you can't really do anything except endure it, because you can't, like, force her body to progress. So you're just a captive to this pain. All of us are. We're just waiting for this.
Yeah.
And that's really hard.
Yeah.
You can't, with other things in life, maybe you can just force your way through it. Or there's another option to take, and this is literally just wait it out.
Right. But finally, I had felt like my uterus was starting to push without me even trying. And so we had told the nurse, and she said, don't push. Try to not push until we get you checked to make sure you're actually 10 centimeters. So that was really hard, because I had to fight against my body's natural urge to push. And I feel like they took a long time to come and check me. I'm sure it wasn't that long, but even 5 minutes felt like an eternity at that point.
I felt like it was a half hour or more, where we asked to have them check you, and it was a little bit longer than I would have liked.
Yeah.
Which is okay. They're probably saving a life in the other room, so it's okay.
Yeah. But it was really hard to wait. And then when they came in and checked me, they realized I'd progressed finally to 10 centimeters, and they were like, okay, you can start pushing.
That was such a relief to finally be like, okay, we're on the last lap of this marathon. Smooth sailing from here. I hope it comes out in 2 pushes, because your mom...
Oh, yeah, my mom pushed twice.
Twice, not 2 contractions, 2 pushes within 1 contraction, and it came out.
And, yeah, my brother was out. So we were hoping that was going to be the case for me, or at least that I wouldn't have to push that long. But when I first started pushing, I was so terrified of tearing, and I didn't understand, like, where the baby was in the canal or anything like that. And I had seen this video of a doula talking through different breathing and pushing techniques to help prevent you from tearing. And one of them was a coughing technique where you breathe in and then you cough. So you're not, like, bearing down with all of your strength. She said that the cough would work your pelvic floor enough to be able to push out the baby, and it would really help prevent from tearing. So that I started doing the coughing method immediately once they told me I could start pushing.
Which was not working at all.
No, I'm sure they thought I was crazy.
And I said, so you're doing the coughing method? Because I wanted them to know you're not crazy.
Right.
I wanted them to know this is a thing, She's not just being a weirdo over here.
Yeah.
And they're so non-confrontational, the nurses, which I appreciated. But they were like, hey, I just noticed that you're, not pushing very much. And you can push a lot, and you don't got to worry about tearing until the baby's crowning.
Right. They were like, his head is still half an inch up in your canal, and until we even get the head close to crowning, you cannot even tear. Like, there's not even a possibility for you to tear. And we got to get his head down. And so once she said that, I was like, oh, okay. I don't even have the possibility of tearing right now. I'm going to push with all of my might.
Yeah.
But it was also hard to do that because I was so tired and so weary at this point. And I will say it did feel good to start working with my body again, instead of having to suppress it. But you couldn't breathe during each push, like, because you have to bear down so hard that you just can't breathe. And so it was very hard because I was already so tired. My breathing was already, like, not great to begin with. And then not being able to breathe through the pushes was very hard. And then so I would try to push so hard, like as hard as I could. And then I was so tired after each push. I was like, it was hard for me to do the deep breathing after each push to get even a good breath for the next push. And it lasted a long time. I pushed for an hour, and I pushed 2 to 3 times per contraction, which, we did the math, I pushed anywhere between 40 to 60 times. And that was so hard.
And I would say probably 40 minutes of that was her pushing without us seeing the baby's head. So you were asking a lot for, can you give me an update on how far the baby's gone?
Yeah. Like, can you see him?
And it was kind of discouraging because you can't see any progress. So I'm wondering, is the pushing actually working? Is this baby only moving a millimeter each time? But there came a point where she pushed and I saw part of that area bulge, so I couldn't see the head, but I saw movement there, and I was like, whoa, this is happening. I'm about to meet my son. I'm about to meet the little kid that's been karate chopping my wife's pregnant belly for 9 months.
Yeah.
And that was really cool. And so with each new push, finally the head started to stick out a little bit, and I saw his hair. And then the next push, I saw the top of his forehead. The next contraction, we just kept on seeing part of him more.
Yeah,
and it was... Oh, good.
His head would come out a little bit, and then it would fully go back in.
That was discouraging.
And then a little bit more would come out, and then it would fully go back in.
He was so close. I felt like I could have just pulled him out a little bit. But no, he just kept on sucking back in. But that wasn't horrible, because what was happening is you're getting stretched more each time. Right. So then the next time you pushed, he went out a little more. The nurses were funny there too. They were trying not to get you discouraged, because you're saying, oh, where is he at? Where is he at? And it was after he sunk back in. She's like, oh, he's just right inside there.
Yeah, he's right there.
He's just right there. But eventually you pushed and his whole head came out. He came out face up like this, so I saw his face. And he looked kind of gray for some reason. I don't know. The umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck.
Yeah.
And it actually wasn't a huge situation, because at first the woman was trying to get it around off his neck, but she said, okay, no, just push him out all the way. So once his head was out, there was only 1 or 2 more pushes until his full body came out.
Yeah.
Which was seriously so weird.
And the weirdest feeling.
What did it feel like? You don't have to get too graphic.
A fish.
It felt like a fish. I remember looking at him and thinking, oh, wow, this is real now.
Yeah.
How did you feel when it happened?
I was so out of it. I was just thankful he was out. I was just like, praise the Lord, I don't have to keep pushing. Because after laboring through the like really intense contractions and then pushing, I was also doing this blood curdling like deep yell every single time that I pushed, and I was gripping the side of the bed with all of my might. Yeah, I was just so thankful that it was over and he was out, and I didn't have to push my body anymore.
I remember your first statement after he was out was, I can't believe I'm not pregnant anymore. It wasn't even the joy of having our baby here is just the joy of him not being inside of you anymore. And they handed him to you and you said, what do I do?
Yeah, I was so not with it at all.
Yeah, we have some pictures that the nurse took right when it happened, and you look so out of it.
Oh yeah, like it was not this picture perfect. Like, oh,
is anyone picture perfect?
Yes, well, yes, I have seen, and I'm like, you don't even look like you had a baby. Yeah, no, that was not me. I was rough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you were holding the baby for a while, and everything was good. So now it's time for it to deliver the placenta.
Mm-hmm.
So deliver the placenta, and it came out, and it was really weird looking. And a lot of blood came out, and I thought that was normal, which it is normal for some blood to come out. And I made a joke, hey, there's a lot of blood. And you said, Ian, don't say that. And
yeah, I get really woozy around that stuff anyways. And
yeah.
I'd already been through something really, it's like, I don't want to know how much is coming out of me.
Yeah. And the nurse said, and some blood is normal. And as it progressed, she was saying, we're losing more blood than I would like, which doesn't sound horrible to me. A little more blood than you'd like sounds, it's just a normal situation, just a little worse than typical. But as it progressed, we realized she was losing a lot of blood. And they actually called in a doctor to help fix the situation. So they were hooking her up with all this stuff, to Pitocin, this other stuff to help stop the blood.
They were giving me all these medications. They were
digging these clots out of you that were, I don't know, these clots were pretty big. They were like the size of a stone you would throw. Mm-hmm. It was intense.
Yeah,
and
the midwife was pulling out clots, and then the doctor came in and she was pulling out more. And more nurses came in, and apparently they were going through the trash, counting up all the different gauze and things that my blood was on, because they were trying to figure out just how much I'd lost.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't think you were hemorrhaging, which you actually didn't technically, but...
It wasn't a full-on hemorrhage.
You were 200 milliliters away from a full-on hemorrhage.
Yeah,
you were 800 milliliters
They called it a little hemorrhage. I hemorrhaged a little bit.
But they were so optimistic, it was hard to tell how bad things were. Because what were you asking them?
Once I realized something was wrong, because I feel like it took me a little bit to realize something was wrong. Especially because I was so out of it. And also there was now this little baby on my chest. And yeah. But once I realized something was wrong, I just kept asking, am I okay? Am I going to be okay?
Mm-hmm. And they weren't really giving you a straight answer.
No.
Probably because they probably didn't know.
Right.
But they didn't want to freak you out and make the situation worse.
Right.
So they kept on giving you kind of a super optimistic answer. Like, well, you're just losing a little more than we like, and we're trying to fix it. Mm-hmm. And I started to wonder, okay, is this actually real? Where she's about to die. That was a concern of mine going into this, just because it's a pretty traumatic experience, giving birth, and I was slightly concerned that you would die, but I didn't think it would really happen. But then once this situation unfolded, I was thinking she might actually die, and this is really scary. It felt unfair. It felt like, wow, you went through all this and now you're gonna die, and that's what you were thinking, right?
Yes, yeah, because once I realized that this had progressed into something serious, and they were working for like 2 hours to get me to stop bleeding. I definitely had the thought of, I just went through all of this and now I'm gonna die.
Yeah, that was...
Like, I'm not even gonna be able to, like, enjoy the little human I just birthed.
Yeah, I was thinking what it would be like to be a single dad and raise Judah by myself, and how that would even work. And it came time for, I guess, me to do skin to skin with Judah, and so I went into the bathroom to change, put on a shirt where I could do that, and I just had a moment with the Lord where I was thinking, okay, Lord, you're in control. I know you're in control, and if she dies, then that was your will for my life, and I don't know how I'm gonna handle this, but I just know you're in control, and that's all I can say. And I was really calm in that situation.
Yeah, you were.
I didn't feel this sense of peace, but I didn't feel this overwhelming thought of I can't handle this. It was just I was calm, cool, and collected, kind of like a soldier in war, where they're slightly disassociated from the emotion of it, and they just have to be sort of
Steady.
robotic,
Yeah.
going forward. Because I was thinking I need to support you, and I can't think about myself right now. I gotta help you be calm.
Yeah, and I do remember looking up at him, like seeing how he was reacting to everything, and I could see that he was just calm, but part of me, after seeing how calm he was like, oh, does he not care that I could be dying right now? But ultimately, I'm very thankful that he wasn't like overly emotional or anything, because I think if I would have seen him being really emotional, I probably would have lost it.
So eventually, they cleaned everything up, and they basically put you on standby. They said you're stable for now, and we're gonna keep on checking in on you.
Yeah. They were going to come check me the next morning, like my levels and everything, to see if I needed a transfusion, and praise the Lord, that came back okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you actually turned out great. You never had to get more blood put in you.
Right.
Did they put you on an iron pill or something?
I don't know. They had so many things pumping into me, and they had put other medications other places. Yeah, and I had also tore in several different places. And so they had to give me local anesthetics and stitch me up in the whole process of them doing everything else down there.
The woman that came in once the little hemorrhage started to happen, after it was all resolved,
The doctor, yeah.
she said, yeah, you are the best patient ever. You've handled this better than anyone I've ever seen without an epidural. That was a huge compliment.
It was all the Lord. And I do think that, I don't know, I think that I was being pumped with so many hormones and adrenaline from just giving birth, that, and I was also in such a state of shock from everything, that I was pretty much like disassociated, I think, from the moments, like from myself. And I still felt a lot of pain and stuff, especially as they were digging up into me, getting those clots out and everything. I felt the shots and, but yeah, it kind of surprises me that I didn't panic. I didn't even cry, which is so strange to me looking back on it, because it was so intense. I cried a lot later. But yeah, ultimately, definitely the Lord. I could not have done that without the Lord. And I'm also super grateful that we ended up having a hospital birth. Ideally, I'd always imagined having a home birth, but we just don't have the space, a great space for that.
We live in a really small apartment.
Yeah, and also because it was my first, I did feel a little bit more comfortable having it in the hospital, just in case. And now I'm so grateful that we did, because I truly don't know if I would have survived had we not been in the hospital where they could have intervened when they did.
Yeah. That makes me very nervous about doing a home birth in the future.
Yeah, me too.
I don't want to take my chances at this point.
Right. I know, because I didn't hemorrhage because I had an unmedicated birth, or like it was literally just my body which caused all the blood loss. They said that my uterus, typically after you birth the placenta, then your uterus firms up and it clamps down in order to help stop the bleeding or slow it down. But my uterus was still very swollen, and they called it boggy. So I guess just very soft. It wasn't firming up to clamp down in order to stop it.
And during the whole thing, especially when it got bad, but it felt cruel. I felt that way. I felt like God was getting a kick out of things going wrong for us. And I know that's not true, but it just felt like, does this really have to be like this? And almost like, God, would you really take my wife from me? But what really grounded me was thinking, okay, no, God's good. My feelings aren't accurate right now. And God doesn't like that. He's not sadistic, and he doesn't have a fun time hurting his children or letting his children go through a horrible amount of pain. And so really what brought me through that personally was thinking, God is actually good, and even if she does die, he has a better plan. You really can't lose if God's will for your life happens, even if it results in death.
Right.
And I wasn't fully theologically thinking through that. I was just thinking he's in control. It was such a simple thing.
Yeah.
But thinking through that, even if you were to die, God's still good. Yeah. And that was the best plan for our lives.
Right.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
No, thankfully you didn't die. I'm so
thankfully
thankful.
He had different plans.
Yeah. No, I am so thankful that he made it through it. I'm thankful that Judah made it. We even had a scare early on, a few weeks after you got pregnant.
Yeah.
Where we went to the hospital, and we thought it was an ectopic pregnancy, which means the egg gets lodged in the fallopian tube, which can rupture that and cause internal bleeding, and you could die. Which it wasn't that, but yeah, I'm so thankful that the Lord helped us with our attitudes, with our perspectives, with physically. He really came through.
Yeah, he did. Just journeying through the whole pregnancy, and then the labor and delivery, and then all the bleeding afterwards. It just was a constant reminder of how I'm not actually in control. I'm not in control of my body, and I want to be. I very much want to be. Well, my flesh wants me to be. But ultimately, I'm not in control. I have no control, and the Lord is in control. But even though my flesh wants me to be in control of my body, I wouldn't want anyone else to be in control of my body but the Lord, even during the difficult times. Yeah. So it requires a lot of surrender. But like you said, he's good, and he works all things out for the good of his children and his kingdom. And we can count it all joy when we face trials, because we know that he's working all things for our good.
That's right.
Even if it doesn't look like it or feel like it.
All right. So that's how Judah was born. He was born on Thursday, April 16th at 10:20 p.m. Isn't he just precious? The cutest little baby.
He is so precious.
We talked about if our baby isn't cute, we're not going to pretend he is. But we're not even biased in this. He is the cutest ever. He's actually cute. Like, you cannot deny that. That little face, his little nose.
Cutie.
We love him so much.
We do.
He's the most precious.
Yeah, he was 7 pounds and 8 ounces and 19 inches long when he came out. And
you can't put a price on him.
No, you can't.
You can't. It was so worth it, right?
Yes, it was. Oh, my baby.
Oh, I'm so glad he's finally here.
Me too. Well, thanks for watching, guys. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
There he is. He's making noises. Little Judah.
Cute